Okay, Dee, tell me a little bit about you and your past relationships.
I'm a 24-year-old student. I studied at Carleton in my Bachelor's of Communications and Sociology for 4 years, and I'm hoping to go back for a Master's in Journalism, but not really sure. I just kind of want to get some work experience in media or something. Might move to Toronto and explore that. Relationships. Well, there actually haven't been a lot of relationships. I found that to be one of my most unsuccessful life endeavors, unfortunately. I have met someone though, and we've been hanging out and whatnot, but I'm not really a label person, so I wouldn't really put a label on it, but it's something I hope can um, I can get better at or more involved in as the years go by, I guess.
Okay. Where have you met guys in the past? Internet dating or?
Um, Meeting guys is one of those things that's pretty difficult. I would say, especially for people with disabilities, because when you're in a bar, you're lower than everyone else, like because you're sitting down. A lot of us, so it's hard to get people's attention, and it's harder to go out. A lot of places aren't accessible and whatnot. A lot of the guys I meet and the guy I'm talking to right now, we met through disability-related activities. So, like assisted housing and my hockey team is another place I meet guys, but a lot of it has to do with disabilities, which I guess is good in a way because I don't know, because they're open already, because they're at those events and whatnot. But at the same time, you don't always want someone you're seeing to know everyone else that you know. So it's 50-50, good and bad, I guess.
Okay. And would you date somebody that's not in a chair or that is in a chair?
Yeah, I think that's a hard question unless you're in this situation. Definitely, I would definitely date someone who isn't in a chair or doesn't have any type of disability. I think it's easier in a lot of ways in that sense because things that you might be limited in doing physically, the other person can help with or wouldn't be limited in doing. But I also think that if you find someone that you love who has a disability, there's ways to work around it, depending on the needs, etc. So I think it's your comfort level, ultimately. And I don't see myself dating someone in a wheelchair because, as I said, it can be difficult, but I'm not closed off to it either.
Okay. Being in a chair, how do you feel about going to meet somebody new if you haven't met them?
In terms of men or just people in general?
In terms of men.
I think it's like everyone. I mean, you're nervous. I think you're extra nervous because, especially if you haven't disclosed you're in a wheelchair, because of the reaction you might receive. I always disclose that I have a physical disability because I think it's appropriate. I mean, if you're going to meet someone, they should know who they're going to meet. And I want them to know I have a disability because if they can't handle it, they won't want to meet me. And if they can, they will. So obviously you're nervous. I'm always a bit entertained at the reaction. Like, what they'll ask me. I usually get like, what's wrong with you? Or like, I usually get really awkward phrasing of like asking me what my disability is. I always find that hilarious. I don't get offended. I find it funny. Ignorance is kind of funny. So that's always an awkward conversation. But once you get over that, it's usually fine. I'm not really scared about anything awkward happening because I always meet in public And I would suggest to anyone who, especially for internet dating, if you're going to go on a date from someone you've met on the internet, go to a coffee shop. Like, go to a public place. Do not bring them back to your house or anything random, especially if you have a more severe disability. It's not a good situation to put yourself in. For anyone, disability or not, to be alone with somebody you don't know. So, but out in public, I mean, nothing's really gonna happen. Like, just know where you are, know your surroundings. I get my friends to do a safety call. So they call and like, emergency, and then I'll be like, oh, okay, I can't talk to you right now, and that's a good to go sign. Or if like it's going really badly, I'm like, oh really? Okay, I'm coming. And like
it's not secret now, not a secret code.
Well, there you go. If I get a call and I leave, you're done. No dice.
And I know that as we discussed like in a previous meeting, you mentioned something about you think that it was more difficult for maybe a woman in a chair to date as opposed to a man. Can you maybe expand on that a little bit?
Not to go into stereotypes, but I mean, there are gender types, and women on the whole are just a bit more nurturing and open and patient and whatnot. And there are more women statistically in the population than men. So if you're a man in a wheelchair, you have more options. Women are going to likely want to help you out, be gentle, generous and patient and whatever. Whereas guys, like, they just kind of want to get laid. So if you're a female who has a disability, who maybe has to do things a bit differently, has to like figure some things out along the way, some men aren't very patient. Some men, maybe they're nervous or embarrassed, or in my experience, I've just had a lot of men just not be as comfortable, which makes me uncomfortable, and then the whole situation just kind of falls apart. So I would say it's definitely harder as a female in a wheelchair than a male.
Okay. And actually, our last question is, if you need help with anything sex related, do you have someone you can ask for assistance, maybe an attendant or someone that you feel comfortable with?
No. I find this whole subject is quite taboo. People with disabilities, especially like in my experience, they're not seen as very sexual, or they haven't been taught from a young age to be sexual. We don't get health class in school, or at least me and my group of friends didn't, because we didn't get gym class, and they're part and parcel. So until, I'm embarrassed to say, like 20 years of age, I didn't really know a lot. I knew like the basic stuff, but not really much else. So when I got to university, it was like a major culture shock, and I had to do a lot of my own research, a lot of my own self-exploration and whatnot to really be comfortable with sexuality. And I find that's a big problem in the disability circle, I guess, and I find that carries over to people without disabilities. They think that people with disabilities are asexual, or maybe they think we're sexual, but they're not sure how to go about asking or talking about it because it is a taboo subject. So I still carry that with me. I don't really talk to, especially attendants that I deal with on a daily basis. I kind of don't want them involved in my personal private affairs because I don't know who they're talking to, what's being said. So I like to keep my life fairly separate. I think it would be great if more people were open to it, so that people who did need help could ask. I'm lucky in the sense that I'm pretty independent, I'm pretty vocal, and if I was with someone who was able-bodied, I probably wouldn't need assistance. But for people who don't have that luxury, I think it's very important that they feel comfortable going to someone. So that's kind of why I wanted to do this interview, to bring awareness to it, bring a level of comfort to it, because let's face it, like, we're all sexual beings. We all want to be wanted in that way, and I think if more people just were open about it, they would find that people with disabilities are quite funny, quite unique, and they have a really great perspective on life, because we have to have a different way of looking at things. So I think it's really important for other people to get to know that and be okay with it, and just experience new things. So thanks for talking to me.
Thank you. Cheers with our wine.
Yeah.
Thank you.